There's a lie that's completely destroying your ability to transform your life. And the worst part is you probably believe it with every fiber of your being. It whispers in your ear every morning when you wake up and repeat your positive affirmations, when you visualize your goals in perfect detail, when you try to think differently to live differently. The lie is this: that knowledge creates change, that if you just understand enough, believe enough, repeat enough, then your life will finally catch up with your thoughts and transform into what you desperately want. But there's something no one is telling you, a secret so fundamental about how reality actually works, that when you understand it in the next few minutes, you'll realize why everything you've tried so far simply hasn't worked the way it should have worked. The quantum field, that invisible ocean of infinite potential, where all possible versions of your life exist simultaneously, doesn't respond to what you know intellectually. Pause. Let that sink deep into your consciousness right now. It doesn't respond to what you think rationally, doesn't obey your most elaborate and well-constructed affirmations, doesn't care how many times you've mentally repeated that you deserve abundance. The quantum field responds exclusively to what you embody, to what you experience in your nervous system as already being real, as already happening, as already existing in this exact moment. And if you're watching this video now, if something inside you resonated with this uncomfortable and liberating truth, then you need to subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications, because what I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes about how to hack this mechanism, it'd be the most important information you receive about real transformation this year. All reality, every bit of reality remains in a potential state, latent, waiting to be collapsed, until you feel it's real. It's as if every possibility exists in an invisible quantum cloud, floating in superposition, waiting for your emotion to anchor it into tangible physical form. Your future, the one where you're already living in true reciprocal love, have already achieved the financial freedom always dreamed of, have already become the most powerful and authentic version of yourself, doesn't come into existence because you desperately want it with your mind, or because you obsessively study it in books, or even because you rationally believe in it with all your intellectual capacity. It becomes real, tangible, inevitable at the exact moment your emotion completely aligns with it. At the precise instant your inner world completely stops waiting for external proof and starts living from the total and absolute presence of that reality, as if it were already happening now. Because, and this is totally crucial, that you understand in every cell of your body the quantum field doesn't listen to affirmations empty of authentic emotion. Think about this for a second. Actually, don't just think, viscerally experience the weight of this revelation. How many times have you mechanically repeated, "I am prosperous, I am deeply loved, I am completely free," while your stomach was completely knotted with anxiety, while your chest was tight with fear? How many mornings have you declared your highest and most powerful intentions to the universe, while your entire body was vibrating at the frequency of primal fear, rooted scarcity, deep and painful separation? The field listens to coherence, and coherence is when your thoughts and feelings say exactly the same thing, when your head isn't shouting abundance, while your gut still desperately whispers, "I'm not safe. This isn't for me. I don't completely deserve this." It's always been hard for people like me. When there's contradiction between what you think consciously and what you feel subconsciously, when your conscious mind determinedly points north, while your emotional body is magnetically pulled south, the quantum field doesn't get confused or indecisive trying to choose between the two signals. It simply obeys the dominant frequency with mathematical precision, and the dominant frequency is never, ever the most beautiful, elaborate thought or the purest and highest intention. The dominant frequency is always, without exception, the one that's deeply encoded in your nervous system, permanently recorded in your cells through years of repetition, imprinted in your electromagnetic field through the emotion you habitually practice on autopilot, not the one you occasionally perform in rare moments of inspiration. This is exactly why, and only why, so many people say with genuine frustration, desperation, and even rage, "I've done all the inner work possible, read all the self-help books, practiced all the manifestation techniques, but nothing is changing in my external reality. I'm stuck in the same place, because on the surface, yes, the effort is there, visible, measurable, even admirable and inspiring. But underneath, in the unexplored depths of your being, the dominant emotion is still tuned to the traumatic past, still neurologically wired to the familiar discomfort of who you used to be years ago, still transmitting the same old vibrational signature, like a radio station, permanently locked on a single frequency, playing the same melancholy song on endless loop. And emotion, not intention, not knowledge, not even intellectual belief, but pure raw emotion is what collapses quantum potential into tangible physical form. You don't manifest what you tell the universe in your most eloquent and elaborate prayers. You don't manifest what you intellectually know about universal laws and metaphysical principles. You manifest only and exclusively what you feel as already being absolute truth in your body, in your cells, in your electromagnetic field. And if this isn't the most liberating and simultaneously most challenging revelation you've ever received about true manifestation, then you haven't fully grasped the devastating power of what I'm sharing here. So what are you really feeling most of the time, in the undocumented hours of your day? Be brutally, mercilessly honest with yourself right now. No masks, no performance that you maintain even for your own mind when you're alone. If you're still waiting for something to change externally, still doubting the process works, still obsessively checking reality's mirror for signs that it's finally happening, like someone who checks their phone every 5 minutes waiting for a text that never comes, then your dominant frequency is still tethered to the state of perpetual waiting. And waiting, let me be crystal clear about this, waiting is the emotion of separation, of it hasn't arrived yet, of almost there but not quite, of maybe someday if I deserve it enough. And the quantum field, in its absolutely flawless mathematical precision, obeys exactly what you're broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even while you sleep. Here's what they never taught you, what remained hidden between the lines of all the self-help books you voraciously consumed. Emotion isn't just passive feedback about how you feel about your current life. Emotion is a direct and active command, an electromagnetically encoded instruction sending to reality's malleable fabric every second you breathe. When you feel from fear, even if your mind is desperately repeating positive mantras like a scared child singing in the dark, you're literally reinforcing and solidifying the timeline where fear is valid, where fear makes absolute sense, where fear has unquestionable reason to exist. When you feel from deep and authentic joy before any logical reason appears to justify that joy, you're collapsing, in this exact moment, the version of you where joy is already permanently justified, where it's already your unquestionable default reality, your natural state of being. Neville Goddard, one of the few masters who truly understood this mechanism in its entirety and depth, called this living from the end, living from the already realized result. But he wasn't talking about pretending for the universe, about playing a character, about putting on a convincing performance hoping to fool the quantum field as if it were a naive audience. He was describing something infinitely deeper, more authentic and powerful, feeling so completely, so viscerally, so authentically the reality you chose that your body, your breath, every cell of your being, your entire electromagnetic vibration can no longer distinguish between what you're feeling internally and what's happening externally right now physically. We're not talking about just mentally visualizing like a distant movie on your mind's screen, but feeling as if you were literally there, touching the textures, tasting the flavors, hearing the sounds, experiencing with your entire present body, transforming visualization from a distant two-dimensional mental movie into a vivid and present three-dimensional bodily experience. Let's dive even deeper into the scientific and neurological mechanism, because the science behind this is absolutely fascinating and simultaneously disturbing in its profound implications. Every thought you think creates a specific and measurable chemical signal in your brain, a unique neurochemical signature. If that thought is neutral and mundane, something like "I need to buy milk" or "it's raining today," the chemistry is weak, almost imperceptible, a background process that barely registers in the quantum field, like a tiny pebble thrown into a vast ocean. But when that thought is charged with intense emotion, especially strong and visceral emotion like joy that overflows every cell, fear that paralyzes the entire body, gratitude that makes your eyes involuntarily tear up at the beauty of existence, shame that makes your stomach physically churn as if it's been punched, this creates a massive and measurable cascade of complex hormones, powerful neurotransmitters, and most importantly, electromagnetic energy detectable by scientific instruments. The Hartmouth Institute, after decades of rigorous research, has conclusively proven that the heart's electromagnetic field is 60 times stronger electrically and approximately 100 times stronger magnetically than the brain's field. But here's something even more impressive that few people know. That field can be detected up to 10 feet away from the body with sensitive magnetometers. Think deeply about this. Actually, don't just think, viscerally experience the revolutionary impact of this information. Your heart is literally transmitting an electromagnetic signal 100 times more powerful magnetically than your most intense and elaborate thoughts. And that signal is propagating feet beyond your physical body, interacting with other fields, influencing the reality around you in ways science is only beginning to understand. And when your heart and brain enter a state of deep coherence, meaning they're emotionally aligned and transmitting exactly the same message without contradiction, something extraordinary happens. Your electromagnetic field becomes organized, coherent, expansive, and incredibly powerful, like an orchestra that moves from cacophony to perfect harmony. Research shows that in this state, your brainwaves naturally synchronize with your heart's rhythms, and various oscillatory systems in the body synchronize with the heart rhythm. You stop being just an isolated body, desperately trying to manifest something through willpower. You transform, literally and measurably, into a living beacon transmitting a specific and powerful frequency that begins to bend and reorganize reality around you according to that coherent transmission. Bruce Lipton took this even further with his revolutionary discoveries about epigenetics that shook the foundations of traditional biology. He demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt that your dominant emotional state literally turns your genes on or off in real time, altering your genetic expression moment by moment. You're not just feeling as a matter of spiritual mood management or to maintain good superficial vibes that impress others. You are, in this exact moment, through your predominant emotion, actively reprogramming your cells, altering your brainwaves from beta to alpha and theta, sculpting your future at the most fundamental level of biological reality. Your emotions are literally instructing your genes about which proteins to produce, which hormones to release, which version of you to biologically manifest. But there's something even deeper and more disturbing happening here. Something that will completely change how you understand your relationship with the emotional past and why it's so hard to escape it. The most frustrating and liberating truth at the same time is this: the overwhelming majority of people aren't living in the present. No matter how much they meditate, practice mindfulness, or repeat affirmations about being present, they're trapped, neurologically imprisoned in an emotional echo that began 5, 10, 20, sometimes 30 years ago, on some random childhood morning when something significant happened and the body learned an emotion so deeply that it became familiar, safe, known, like the smell of the house where you grew up. Let me explain the devastating neurobiology of the emotional comfort zone that nobody's talking about. Your brain has an evolutionary and primitive aversion to the unknown, even when the unknown is positive and beneficial. For the reptilian brain, which evolved for survival millions of years ago, new automatically equals potential danger. The familiar, even if it's painful, limiting, even destructive to your happiness, is interpreted as safe because you survived it before. That's why your nervous system actively sabotages the good things that start happening. When a real opportunity appears, when true love knocks at the door, when abundance starts flowing, your primitive brain screams danger. Because it's not familiar, it's not known, it hasn't been tested for survival. For example, there's emotional echo of "I'm not good enough" that automatically arises, like a conditioned reflex, when a new career opportunity appears, or the old pain of abandonment that instantly activates, like a hypersensitive smoke alarm, when a new relationship promises something real, deep, and lasting. Your body memorizes these reactions not because it wants to harm you, but because at some point in the past, that emotional reaction protected you from something. Maybe the "I'm not good enough" protected you from the disappointment of trying and failing. Maybe the fear of abandonment protected you from fully opening up and getting hurt. And what's familiar, even if it's an emotional prison, literally becomes home to the nervous system. Your body learns to call known suffering home because at least it's predictable. This is what we can call deep emotional inversion, the neurologically ingrained habit of feeling from the past while desperately trying to create a different future. It's like driving a car, looking only in the rearview mirror, and then wondering why you keep crashing into the same walls. You wake up determined to change your timeline, set powerful and inspiring new intentions, visualize with impressive cinematic clarity every detail of your desired future, but your nervous system, that incredibly sophisticated biological computer with billions of neurons, is still running the old and obsolete software installed decades ago. And the quantum field responds instantly and flawlessly to that emotional software, not to your conscious desires. That's exactly why, when you live in the frequency of scarcity, the universe keeps showing you maps that lead to more scarcity, opportunities that disappear at the last moment, unexpected bills that come out of nowhere, conversations that reinforce the narrative of difficulty, people who confirm your limiting beliefs. The quantum GPS isn't punishing or testing you. It's simply following your strongest and most consistent electromagnetic instruction. When you broadcast scarcity, you receive routes to more scarcity. When you broadcast abandonment, you receive coordinates to more abandonment. When you broadcast "I'm not enough," the universe organizes experiences that confirm that transmission. Neuroscience and spirituality converge perfectly at this crucial point. Your body, that complex temple of flesh, electricity, and consciousness with approximately 37 trillion cells, cannot biologically distinguish between an emotion tied to an experience happening in real time now, and an emotion triggered by old memory or even vivid imagination. When you mentally relive a traumatic emotional event from the past, even if it's just in a fleeting thought of seconds while drinking coffee, your brain fires exactly the same neurons that fired in the original event. Your body releases precisely the same complex chemicals: cortisol, adrenaline, inflammatory cytokines, produces the same dramatic hormonal changes, and most crucially, your electromagnetic field reactivates the same old vibrational signal, as if the trauma were happening again now. This is the invisible, but powerfully real emotional prison that keeps people trapped in infinite loops of painful repetition, reliving the past in the present, and then projecting it into the future. And the most dangerous part, the most insidious, is that this feels completely normal, natural, and even me, because your identity has perfectly adapted to those old emotions over years or decades. Your sense of self was meticulously built around them, emotional brick by emotional brick, like a fortress built on quicksand that you now call personality. You don't even realize anymore that you're wearing emotional glasses from the past that completely distort your perception of the present. That's why the most powerful and transformative change you can make isn't adding more affirmations to your already extensive morning repertoire or visualizing with even more vivid cinematic details every scene of your future. It's definitively and permanently breaking the automatic emotional loop that insists on saying "this is simply the unchangeable way I feel. This is my essential nature. This is my fixed temperament that I genetically inherited." Because that feeling you call yours, that emotion that seems as authentic, true, and immutable as the color of your eyes, isn't absolute truth carved in stone or encoded in your DNA. It's a program, emotional software that was installed long ago through repetition and conditioning, and that continues running on automatic infinite loop because it was never consciously updated. Unlike any computer program, it can be completely rewritten and upgraded to a higher version, but this requires a completely different type of discipline. Not mental or intellectual discipline that you use to study or work, but emotional, visceral, cellular, somatic discipline, the discipline of consciously feeling instead of automatically reacting. You need to become radically more loyal to the feeling of the desired future than to the comfortable familiarity of the known past. You need to literally teach your body, cell by cell, neuron by neuron, fiber by fiber, what the authentic sensation of living in the new timeline feels like before any external evidence appears to validate that change. Let's talk now about your identity as a constant electromagnetic broadcast, because this will revolutionize how you understand your active role in creating your reality. Every timeline available in the infinite quantum field, every possible version of your life from the most limited to the most extraordinary carries a unique, specific, and unmistakable frequency signature, like a vibrational fingerprint. That frequency isn't based on what it looks like superficially from the outside, on external appearances, on material possessions, on visible relationships, on social status. It's defined entirely by how that reality deeply feels on the inside, by the authentic and consistent internal emotional experience of living in that specific timeline. Let's see how emotional coherence applies in practical day-to-day contexts. In a difficult conversation with your partner, you might be saying everything's fine, while your entire body is tense with resentment that's incoherence, and the other person subconsciously feels it through your electromagnetic field, creating more conflict. In an important work project, you might be visualizing success, while emotionally you're expecting failure based on past experiences. That incoherence sabotages your results before you even start. With your finances, you might be affirming abundance, while every time you look at your bank account, you feel a tightness in your chest. That contradiction keeps you stuck in the scarcity loop. The version of you living in total abundance isn't just surrounded by material wealth. They have a completely different relationship with money on the emotional level. They feel deeply relaxed about resources, like someone who breathes without thinking about air. They're naturally generous, not from moral obligation, but because giving is as natural as receiving. They feel unquestionably deserving from arrogance, but from a deep knowledge of their intrinsic worth. The version of you in true love doesn't just have the perfect partner by their side. They feel completely safe to be vulnerable because rejection doesn't threaten their identity. They're totally open to receiving love because they don't need it to feel complete. They radiate from the inside out because love is their natural state, not an external achievement. Let me share something I saw happen with a client that perfectly illustrates this process. She had tried all the manifestation techniques for years to attract a loving relationship. She visualized the perfect partner daily, made lists of qualities, repeated affirmations about being loved. But emotionally, deep in her body, she still carried the echo of a betrayal at 23 that made her subconsciously conclude that true love always ends in pain. Her body had memorized that emotional equation. So even when wonderful men appeared, she unconsciously pushed them away through self-sabotaging micro-behaviors, creating unnecessary drama, finding flaws where none existed, running when things got serious. It wasn't conscious unworthiness. It was old emotional programming running automatically. When she finally understood, she needed to reprogram the feeling in the body, not just the thoughts in the mind. Everything changed. She began the ritual of feeling safe in love, not visualizing a partner, but embodying the sensation of emotional safety, of peace, of being home in love. It took about 3 months of consistent daily practice for her body to accept this new frequency as normal. And then, like an inevitable synchronicity, she met someone in a completely unexpected situation in the elevator of the building where she'd lived 4 years. He'd always been there, but she could only see him when her frequency changed. They've been together for 2 years now, and she told me the main difference isn't having found the right person, but having become the right frequency to recognize and receive the love that was always available. This is the crucial point that changes absolutely everything. The quantum field doesn't give you what you desperately want with your mind. It gives you access only to the timelines you're in sustained emotional resonance with. It's like trying to tune into a radio station you can't hear 105.7 FM if your internal dial is locked on 88.3 FM. No matter how much you want the other station's music, the universe isn't being cruel or selective. It's operating by precise laws of resonance. You literally cannot perceive, recognize, or access opportunities that are outside your current emotional frequency, even if they're right in front of you. There's a hidden dimensional door between where you are now and where you desperately want to be. It doesn't open with Herculean effort or superhuman willpower, doesn't respond to the most flawless logic or brilliant rational arguments, doesn't yield even to the most burning and desperate desire. It opens only and exclusively when your body begins to viscerally and authentically experience the future as if it were happening now. When your nervous system completely stops waiting for external proof and starts transmitting absolute and unshakable conviction. When emotion definitively stops being a recycled memory from the past and transforms into a powerful magnet for the future that's forming in the quantum field. Now I'm going to share with you a deep emotional activation ritual that goes beyond any surface technique you've tried. This isn't another abstract concept to add to your already extensive collection of unapplied theories, but an embodied and scientifically grounded practice to activate your new frequency permanently. This protocol doesn't require you to pretend something you don't genuinely feel, doesn't demand you force an artificial emotion that doesn't exist, doesn't ask you to have blind hope or irrational faith. It simply requires you to feel with deliberate and conscious purpose, to methodically collapse a new version of you through sustained emotional coherence. First, understand the scientific why of each stage. When you sit quietly and close your eyes, you're initiating a fundamental shift in your brain waves. Your brain normally operates in high-frequency beta waves between 14 and 30 Hz, the state of conscious alertness, analysis, and often anxiety. By closing your eyes and quieting your mind, you naturally begin descending into alpha waves between 8 and 13 Hz, and with practice, into theta waves between 4 and 7 Hz. This is crucial because in alpha, and especially theta, the barrier between conscious and subconscious dissolves. Your subconscious, which controls 95% of your behavior and your automatic emotions, becomes accessible for reprogramming. It's like putting a computer into programming mode where you can actually rewrite the code, not just run existing programs. Now sit somewhere where you won't be interrupted for the next precious minutes. This isn't wasted time. It's the most important investment you can make in your future reality. Close your eyes gently and completely. Breathe deeply 3 times, each breath deeper than the previous one. With each exhale, consciously release the accumulated tension in your body. Now bring your awareness to the sacred space of your heart. Why the heart? Because as we've established, your heart generates an electromagnetic field 100 times more powerful than your brain. When you focus your attention on the heart, you're literally amplifying your body's most powerful transmitter. Gently place your hand over your heart to create a tangible physical connection. Feel the warmth of your hand. Feel the steady rhythm. This simple gesture activates the vagus nerve, the largest nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, initiating a cascade of physiological changes. Your blood pressure drops, your cortisol reduces, your heart rate variability increases, all signals that you're entering coherence. Now choose the specific reality you want to feel as real. Be absolutely specific and detailed, not generic or vague. For example, not just I want abundance, but I'm living with $20,000 monthly flowing consistently, feeling completely relaxed about money, generous with others, investing wisely. Not simply I want love, but I'm in a relationship where I feel deeply seen, supported, safe to be completely myself, laughing daily, growing together. Specificity is crucial because the subconscious brain responds to concrete images and sensations, not abstract concepts. Now comes the most important part: completely abandon words and immerse yourself in pure feeling. Why? Because emotional repression only stores stagnant energy in the body, creating blockages that manifest as tension, pain, and eventually disease. When you consciously feel, you release that trapped energy and create space for new frequencies. Ask your body with genuine curiosity, what would the complete physical sensation of already permanently living this way feel like? Don't force an answer. Just observe what arises. You might feel warmth spreading through your chest, that's oxytocin and dopamine being released. You might feel an opening in your solar plexus, that's your third chakra, the center of personal power, activating. You might feel tingling in your hands, that's increased circulation and energy. You might feel tears arising, that's old emotional release making space for the new. All of this is your body beginning to accept the new frequency. Let that sensation expand organically. Don't force, don't push. Imagine you're watering a plant, gentleness and consistency, not brute force. Breathe deeply into that emotion. With each inhale, imagine you're literally breathing that frequency into each of your 37 trillion cells. With each exhale, release any resistance, any buts, any doubts. Breath is the bridge between conscious and unconscious, between voluntary and involuntary. When you consciously breathe into an emotion, you're instructing your autonomic nervous system to accept that emotion as the new normal. Continue this process for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Why this time? Because research shows it takes approximately that period for the brain to begin forming new neural connections, for the electromagnetic field to stabilize in the new frequency, for the body to begin producing the neuropeptides corresponding to the new emotion. Less than that, and you're just temporarily visiting the frequency. More than that, consistently, and you're permanently moving into it. When you feel it's the right moment, when your body signals it has absorbed the frequency, slowly open your eyes. But here's the absolutely crucial part that determines whether this becomes real transformation or just another interesting experience that changes nothing. You must move through your entire day from this version of you that you just felt, not as a performance, not as a constant conscious effort, but as a cellular reminder of your new natural state. It's like learning to ride a bike. At first it requires conscious attention, but eventually it becomes automatic, embodied, part of who you are. This practice I've shared isn't just energetic or spiritual in the vague esoteric sense. It's profoundly neurological and biologically transformative with measurable effects. Every time you deliberately choose to feel from the future instead of automatically reacting from the conditioned past, you're literally building new synapses, creating new neural pathways through neuroplasticity. You're establishing new set points in your autonomic nervous system, altering your vagal tone, changing your heart rate variability. You're permanently recording a new vibrational signature in your electromagnetic field that propagates through the space around you. And here's the secret to mastery. Disciplined and consistent repetition is what locks all of this permanently in place. Why? Because the brain requires between 21 to 66 days of consistent repetition to form a new automatic neural habit, depending on complexity. But emotions are even deeper than behavioral habits. They require what I call cellular saturation, the point where every cell in your body accepts the new frequency as a normal operational pattern. This usually takes about 90 days of consistent practice, not sporadic. The goal here isn't to feel perfectly all the time. That would be impossible and unnecessary. Plus it would create unnecessary pressure. The goal is to establish a new emotional baseline, a new default temperature of your field. It's like changing your house's thermostat. You don't need to be constantly adjusting. Just set the new temperature and let the system automatically maintain it. The more you practice this new emotional frequency, the more it becomes your new autopilot, your new default response to life situations. And when you maintain that frequency consistently, not just in meditation moments, but as your way of moving through the world, something extraordinary and scientifically documented happens. The external world begins reorganizing around you, ways that seem magical, but are simply quantum physics in action. People inexplicably change behavior, that difficult boss suddenly becomes supportive, that distant friend reaches out, strangers start smiling at you more. Money starts flowing from completely unexpected directions, a forgotten tax refund, an old client who reappears, a business idea that emerges fully formed in the shower. Synchronicities multiply exponentially. You think of someone, and they call. You need specific information, and it randomly appears in your feed. You have a question, and the answer comes through a casual conversation. Opportunities that always existed, but were invisible to your previous frequency, suddenly become obvious. It's like you've been wearing glasses with the wrong prescription your whole life and finally put on the right one. The world didn't change. Your ability to perceive it changed. But here's the crucial warning I need to share. In the first days or weeks of practice, you might experience what I call quantum turbulence. Your old reality, sensing it's losing you, might temporarily intensify. Old problems might surface to be definitively resolved. People who matched your old frequency might react negatively or pull away. This isn't the universe testing or punishing you. It's simply the natural friction between two frequencies, the one leaving and the one coming in. It's like shifting gears in a manual car. There's always a moment of transition where you're between gears. Keep going. The turbulence is temporary. The transformation is permanent. There comes a decisive moment in every journey of genuine transformation where you completely stop obsessively asking, when will it happen? And start living fully as if it had already happened. Not because you're trying to trick the universe with mental games, but because you've finally understood and embodied the fundamental truth that governs all creation. Nothing, absolutely nothing in your external reality becomes real and tangible until you feel it as real first in your inner world. Physical reality is always, without exception, the last place where change appears. It first happens in the invisible quantum field, then in your emotional field, then in your mental field, and only then in the physical world. You don't need another revolutionary method, another secret technique, another promising guru. You simply need the courage and discipline to live now, in this moment, as if the future were already happening. Because in the quantum field, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, it already is. Your only task is to align your emotional frequency with that already existing reality and let it materialize in your physical experience. So now it's your turn. Not tomorrow when you finish watching more videos. Not next week when you feel more prepared. Not when external conditions are perfect. Now, in this exact moment. Fully immerse yourself in that emotion you want to become your permanent reality, and when it lands in your body, even if it's just an initial glimpse of seconds, let that be your new operational baseline, your new emotional north. This isn't just another technique to add to your collection. It's a complete and fundamental recoding of how you interact with the quantum field. It's the difference between asking and commanding, between waiting and creating, between wishing and being. If you felt the resonance of this truth reverberating in every cell, if something ancestral in you recognizes this wisdom as true, then the moment has come. Comment, "Now I feel this as real now," and let that statement be your quantum decree to the universe. Subscribe to this channel, turn on all notifications, share this video with someone who needs to awaken to this truth. This is the beginning of your new reality, not with external proof, but with internal conviction. Live it now.